Now we'll discuss MCQs chapter wise, so that you should, although I don't agree with this, because when you say chapter wise, it limits your thinking capacity. You'll come to know that we are discussing the chapter of female genital tract or GIT or liver. So I don't agree with this personally. But however, I feel that when I say chapter wise, at least you will focus your attention, or it's a type of tip, because in the examination it is never written that these questions are from GIT or these questions are from female genital tract. However, as I think you should focus your attention or to give you a practice, so I've decided to discuss the MCQs chapter wise. Now I'm not going to repeat my suggestions again and again. If you have watched my first video, the instructions to go to the examination remains the same. However, I keep on telling you in between these questions certain incidences to make your mood lighter, and also motivating you to perform better and better in your examination and in your practical life. So question is, a 24-year-old woman delivered a normal neonate a month back. There was no complication during pregnancy. She now complains of vaginal bleeding. On hysteroscopy, there is a nodule in the uterine fundus. Lab studies show HCG level of 300 million international units per ml. She is given a trial of chemotherapy, but the lesion does not regress. After hysterectomy, the microscopic examination of the nodule shows intermediate trophoblastic cells. Question is, immunostaining of which one of the following protein is most likely to give positive result in this nodule? Option A, alpha fetoprotein. Option 2, desmin. Option 3, chromogranin. Option 4, non-specific enolase. Option 5, human placental lactogen. Now points which you have to focus in this MCQ, that the woman is only 24 years of age, the neonate is normal, delivery is normal, but now there is vaginal bleeding and HCG is raised, trial of chemotherapy, no response by the lesion. Microscopic examination of the nodule shows intermediate trophoblastic cells. Now there is an incidence attached with this question, which I'll tell you afterwards. But first, discuss the MCQ. Alpha fetoprotein, of course, increased in normal pregnancy. And just by the way, tell you, there is a test which is known as triple screening, in which alpha fetoprotein, beta HCG and estriol levels are estimated, and their levels are coincide with the weeks of pregnancy. Sorry, I have got a little bad throat today, so kindly apologize me, but I don't want to waste your time. Now in this case, to find out, this triple screening test is performed to find out various congenital abnormalities or notochord defects. Please mind it, it's not estradiol, it is estriol, which is E3. Okay, coming back again to the maybe a viva question in final year, because soon you will be going to final year, inshallah. So I think I should give you a tip for Viva question in the gynae triple screening.
Alpha-fetoprotein is increased in pregnancy, and also it is marker in
certain tumors of ovary and in hepatocellular carcinoma. So it doesn't fit here because there is no mass, abdominal mass, no history of teratoma. Age does not support endodermal sinus tumor, embryonal carcinoma. So this option doesn't hold true here. As you know, chromogranin, and I've discussed with you, is a marker for neuroendocrine tumors. Now, neuroendocrine tumors, they have got special appearance under microscopy. They have got hyperchromatic nuclei, uniform cells, granules in the cytoplasm. So again, this option is not true here. Desmin is likely to be seen in the tumors of the mesenchymal origin. But if you read the highlighted point, it's a tumor of the intermediate trophoblasts, which are not mesenchymal in origin. Then another marker, neuron-specific enolase, which is a tumor marker for neural and neuroendocrine differentiation. So does not fit here. We are dealing with a lesion which is of placental origin, and it's a lesion which is mainly composed of intermediate trophoblasts. So the answer is, so you should first establish with which tumor you are dealing if it is not mentioned and if the microscopic appearance is given. So you should first focus which tumor you are dealing with. Just focus your attention on the microscopic appearances of these tumors. So the tumor is placental site trophoblastic tumor. This is the rarest form of all gestational trophoblastic disease. Now, why I am discussing this tumor? Because there are certain students who have really studied hard. If all the questions are easy and of same level, you are doing injustice to them. So you have to pick the best ones. The best ones can answer that. And you can be the best ones by working hard and hard, by studying more and more, and indulging less and less by pulling the legs of others. One thing is, which I am going to share here, if you discuss the knowledge with your colleagues, it is going to increase your own knowledge, and keep on discussing the subjects with your colleagues. You'll get more confidence for Viva examination. You will get more confidence to attempt MCQ questions, because no one is going to steal your knowledge. So again, focus the MCQ, and we are dealing with placental site trophoblastic tumor, which is rarest of all forms of gestational tumor. The intermediate trophoblastic cells do not produce large amount of HCG, but they do produce human placental lactogen. So the answer is human placental lactogen. If you give me a minute, I will tell you the incidents attached with this question. And the incidents is, I was conducting Viva examination in a public medical college, which is number 2 in this province. A boy came to me, I started asking, and I noticed that he is an above average boy. Then I started asking difficult questions, and the rarest questions, which I should not be asked to undergraduate students. But he came up with the answers, and I found him the best one amongst all lot of students. And he answered the question, and I found that he has studied very hard. I asked him, "Thank you very much." So he just stood up, and I asked him that I have other question for him. He sat down again and said, "Sir, kindly tell me the question." I said, "Please let me know the subject which you don't know." He smiled and said, "Sir, then you are going to ask me the same subject." Very humorous, down to earth, because I have seen in my 36 years of teaching experience, all those students who are extraordinary, brilliant, they are down to earth, and they do not pose so much. They don't have any ego problem. They do not show off their knowledge. Rather, they listen to everybody and gain knowledge, spread knowledge by teaching others. And they don't poke nose in other affairs, and they mind their own business so that they should achieve their goal. Why I am telling you all this? Although I am discussing MCQs with you, but there is a lesson of motivation for you. If they are the best, you can be the best. You can study hard and hard. And not only you are going to achieve your goal, but you will also bring glory to your institution. So being a teacher, it is my moral duty that there is no shortcut to hard work. So work hard, hard and hard. Now there is another MCQ. A 23-year-old woman, gravida 4, para 3, has a spontaneous abortion at 16 weeks of gestation. The male fetus is small for gestational age and is malformed. The placenta is smaller in size, showing grape-like villi scattered among morphologically normal chorionic villi. Chromosomal analysis of placental tissue is most likely to show which one of the following karyotypes. Option A, 45X. Option B, 46XX. Option C, 47XY plus 18. Option C, 47XXY. And option E, 69XXY. Now let's focus on the MCQ. Age is 23 years, that is a younger age, and then spontaneous abortion at 16 weeks of gestation. The male fetus is smaller for the gestational age and is malformed. So the fetus is smaller than the gestational age. And then the placenta is also smaller in size with grape-like structures scattered among morphologically normal chorionic villi. Now we have to decide which one of the following karyotype is seen in this case. So the points are 23-year-old women, of course, two extremes of ages. She's a younger age lady. Then fetus is smaller than gestational age. Placenta is smaller, showing grape-like structures. Again, a point to note, and these grape-like structures are scattered among morphologically normal chorionic villi. Half of the MCQ is solved here. So, few grape-like structures are present. You must be thinking about it with what condition we are dealing now. And it's very clear. if you have read the subject thoroughly. Now we don't have to answer the condition, rather we have to answer the chromosomal analysis of the placental tissue, and I told you the various karyotypes from which we have to select. Now coming back to the point, first option is 45X. A fetus with Turner syndrome, that is monosomy X, has 45X karyotype. Most female fetuses with loss of an X chromosome undergo spontaneous abortion, but some survive. Klinefelter syndrome has 47 XXY karyotype, and male infant are alive with no placental problem. A 47 XY plus 18 karyotype of trisomy 18 is associated with multiple congenital malformations but not with partial mole. A 46 XX karyotype could either be seen in a complete mole or a normal female fetus. So we are left with 69 XXY. By this time, it must be clear to you that we are dealing with partial hydatidiform mole, but this does not give us the answer of the question which the examiner has asked. The examiner has asked the chromosomal analysis of the placenta in partial hydatidiform mole. So in this case, triploidy 69 chromosomes in contrast to a complete mole with only paternal chromosomes in which no fetus is present. A partial mole has a fetus because maternal chromosomes are present. Survival of the triploid fetus to term is very rare. The partial mole most of the time contain grape-like structures which are cysterically dilated chorionic villi, and they are distributed among normal chorionic villi. Or partial mole may not show any grape-like structures at all. Now few words about Turner syndrome, a condition that affects only females, results when only one of the X chromosome, that is sex chromosome, is missing or partially missing. Turner syndrome can cause a variety of developmental problems, including short height, failure of the ovaries to develop, and heart defects. Now the Klinefelter syndrome, which is 47 XXY, is a set of symptoms that result from two or more X chromosomes in males. The primary features are infertility and small, poorly functioning testicles. Sometimes people do not realize that they are suffering from this condition. Now coming back to the another analysis, which is 47 XY plus 18 Edwards syndrome karyotype. Trisomy 18 syndrome, formerly called Edwards syndrome, that is 47 XY plus 18. This human male has a normal chromosome complement plus an extra chromosome 18. The symptoms include growth failure, mental retardation, hypertonicity, flexion deformities of the fingers, renal and cardiac abnormalities. The sufferers of this deformity usually live for 6 months. Now coming back to our question, which is partial hydatidiform mole or partial mole, in which the chromosomes are 69 triploid, that is 69 XXY, means the maternal ovum has 23X chromosome, fertilized by two paternal sperms. One sperm has 23X chromosome, the other has 23Y chromosome. With the result, there are total 69 XXY chromosomes, which leads to a partial hydatiform mole with malformed fetus, small placenta, few grape-like structures representing villi, and these are distributed amongst the normal chorionic villi. These grape-like structures may not be present. Now in this case, the examiner has asked the chromosomal analysis, which is 69XXY. The other chromosomal analysis can be asked is 69XXX, which is again a partial mole, but in this case, the two sperms from the paternal side, they fertilize the ovum, which has got 23X chromosomes, and both paternal sperms, they have got 23X chromosome each. So both the sperms, they have 23X. When they fertilize the maternal ovum, which is having already 23X, we result with 69XXX. That can be the karyotyping, or that can be the another chromosomal analysis which can be asked in a partial hydatiform mole. Now in another case, ovum has got 23X, is fertilized by two sperms having Y chromosomes. With the result, there is triploid, which is 69XYY, and it's a rare entity leading to partial hydatiform mole and can be asked. Now in case of hydatiform mole, the scenario will be different, and I am going to discuss. Again, I'll say that one should not call these scientific statements as stories. It is better to have a longer scenario which a student can understand and answer it correctly, rather to have a shorter scenario which the student cannot understand and answer it wrongly. The career of the student is more important rather than the ego of the examiner. Now coming back again to complete hydatiform mole, the scenario can be the uterus is larger than the gestational age. Ultrasound examination shows snowstorm appearance, high levels of human chorionic gonadotrophin, which do not come down, and they are higher than the gestational age. Sometimes gross appearances of hydatiform mole in which chorionic villi are cystic structures and there is extensive proliferation of syncytial and cytotrophoblastic cells. This can be given in microscopic picture. Cytogenetics I'm going to discuss with you so that you can refresh your knowledge, but it is hardly asked as one of the option, because 46XX can be a normal female and 46XX can be a complete hydatiform mole. This can be asked in a viva question from a very good student. Now I'm going to discuss the cytogenetics of complete mole. Now, as I told you that 46XX can be homozygous complete mole, or 46XX can be a normal female. But here I am going to discuss complete mole. Female has got empty ovum or no chromosomes in the ovum. The ovum is fertilized by sperm containing 23X, and then chromosome duplication takes place, resulting in the homozygous complete mole, which is 46XX. So we also called it as monospermic complete hydatidiform mole. The other option is empty ovum. The ovum is without any chromosomes, and the ovum is fertilized by two sperms, either with XX chromosome resulting in 46XX, or it is fertilized by one sperm with 23Y and other sperm with 23X resulting in 46XY. This is called heterozygous complete mole or dispermic complete hydatidiform mole. Then there is another option of complete mole in which the maternal chromosomes are there, that is 23X in the maternal ovum, and there is a sperm which carries either 23X or 23Y, fertilizing it, resulting in 46XX or 46XY. Now in this case, there is mutation of NLRP7, so the protein which is required for the function of the oocyst is either not functioning properly or its function is absent. This is called diploid biparental complete hydatidiform mole. The question from choriocarcinoma can be asked that previous history of complete hydatidiform mole, or history of abortion, or recent history of normal pregnancy, continuous rise of beta HCG level, which you have to differentiate from invasive mole. However, the histological picture will be given in the scenario, and that will be extensive necrosis, hemorrhages, giant cells, mitosis, and sheets of pleomorphic cells without any chorionic villi.